On this week's episode, a really profound experience. Well, two of them. Lessons learned at a Motel 6. I met someone special there. And then I ended up on the burial ground of more than 40 women who were the victims of a serial killer. I went to go see Biosphere 2. If you saw the previous episode, it was amazing. But what happened was it got really cold, like really cold. So I decided to go to a Motel 6, and Motel 6s are free for pets. Sometimes you can pay up to $100 if you have a pet. And Motel 6s are not known for their glam, but it is a place that I feel safe, and Buddy is always welcome. I have 264 kilometers before the next place that I need to go, but we're going to stop for gas. But I met somebody who I stayed an extra night for, and let me backtrack a little bit. So I'm not going to use her real name. I'm going to call her Lee. And at the time that I checked into the Motel 6, I found out that a friend of mine, Sean Simpson, who was in broadcasting with me and who I met in high school, had decided that his mental health challenges were just too much. So I was dealing with that. I had only intended to stay the night on my way to another halfway point before I get to a place called Truth and Consequences, and I wanted to see the big array, which I will explain later. And so I found out that Sean had died, and there are a lot of people in my life who really cared about Sean, and that we knew he was struggling with addiction and mental health, 100%, and it was just shocking. So I met Lee because she has a dog, I have a dog, another lady that we met has a dog, so when you're outside, you just chat with people. And Lee used to have a really glamorous life. She had traveled to a lot of the same places that I had, much younger than I am, and sustained a brain injury, and we became the kind of friends that you meet at summer camp, you know, the kind that you just know that you're going to be friends forever and ever. And so Lee was doing DoorDash in a broken down car, trying to make enough money to stay each night at the Motel 6, which for her was about $88 a day. So given the fact that I had just lost a friend, I said to her, I'm going to pay for tonight, and it's not me, it's Sean Simpson, believing in paying it forward. So I ended up staying an extra day at this Motel 6 along a highway. It really was full of people who were unhoused, and it wasn't rough. It was amazing in that while walking our dogs, we got to talk about things like fentanyl abuse, and not mine, but the people that I was talking to, and Lee, who was dealing with head trauma, and she just became sort of like my little sister in a very fast time. I literally just left her 20 minutes ago. We went to the gas station so that I could get her some food. Just yogurt and things like that, nothing extraordinary. And I cannot believe the struggles of some people out here. It is, they have no idea about the life that I used to lead or that I will lead again when I come back to Ottawa. They just think that I'm one of them, meaning that I'm struggling. I think that's probably true in some ways, that sure, I'm struggling. It says El Paso East. I swore I would never drive through El Paso again. Yet here we go, trying to chase sunshine and warmer temperatures. And Lee, again, not her real name, has such profound struggles trying to keep her phone going, trying to come up with $88 a night to stay somewhere. Her story is not mine to tell, but for somebody that used to be really successful in Los Angeles and around the world, the brain injury really impacted her. And we had a big hug when I was leaving after we went to the gas station to get her treats. And the reason why I set out was to write this book on people who are falling between the cracks, and Lee is an exceptional example of that. So as I drive through Tucson right now to get to the other side, I am reflecting on the fact that if I was still living in my life of privilege, where, you know, I had a Hyatt membership and a Marriott membership, but Buddy's not welcome there, although the Westin welcomes dogs, and I only know about the Westin in Ottawa, but I've always been really charmed by the fact that they welcome dogs. Had I not gone to a Motel 6 along a highway, I wouldn't have met these people who shared with me these stories of profound loss and survival and just trying to get through the day, $88 at a time. And Lee is going to stay with me for the rest of my life. She's charming and quirky and loving, and her dog is pretty darn cute. But how lucky am I that I get to develop relationships with people that I wouldn't ordinarily have been able to have conversations with. So we're going to a place called Lordsburg, and the only reason for that is that it is halfway to where I want to go. And where I want to go is to see a town called Truth or Consequences, which seems to resonate with me a whole lot, and what they call the Big Array, which is, I don't even know how to describe it to you. It is a whole bunch of massive satellite dishes that speak to outer space. And then as I was on my way to Truth or Consequences, my very good friend Heather advised me that I was going directly to a place where a serial killer had left more than 40 women's bodies at the exact spot that I was going. So instead of being horrified, I decided to pay tribute to the burial ground where the women were. I didn't go into Truth or Consequences and see all the quirky, lovely stores that they have. It's slow season anyway, so a lot of them were closed. But instead, I sat in reflection where they were. It's actually good afternoon at this point. I have shown you all where I am in Elephant Butte, which is near Truth and Consequences. I came to Truth and Consequences because I thought the name was quirky and, it was a fun place for me to go. Not knowing at the time that this is a graveyard for probably more than 40 women who were the victim of a serial killer. I have never been comfortable camping at night in the middle of nowhere alone. I didn't like the dark. I chalk that up to childhood trauma. If you are just joining, maybe you don't know that I was one of the first what they considered high-profile people in Canada to speak out about childhood sexual assault. It happened to me when I was 8. So I don't like the dark at all. And also when I went to summer camp, I did this badge-worthy thing where you slept on an island overnight by yourself and then you got a bravery badge. I was so terrified, so terrified. So I've never liked sleeping in the dark. Last night I did it for the first time. This is the graveyard of women who were the victims of a serial killer. Long ago, when I was on television, we decided as an editorial group that we don't name the perpetrator, we name the victims. There are too many victims here. Their bodies were not found, and he was not only a prolific serial killer here in Truth or Consequences, but tortured his victims and then left them here in the lake, and many of their bodies have never been found. So here at Elephant Butte and Truth or Consequences, I am maybe doing a bit of a weird thing. I am paying tribute to these women who were never found, and many of them were not sought after because, you know, they had fallen between the cracks. He hunted people who were involved in the sex trade. He hunted people who had drug addictions. And then he took them to what they called the toy box, which was not far from here, just over there. He worked at the state park, and the toy box was a torture chamber. And as I sit here, I am thinking about those women whose bodies were never found, and they're buried around here. They looked all through this lake, but I think it's 42 miles or kilometers long, and they didn't find the remains. And I am simply paying tribute to them and trying to focus on the fact that this was in the 1990s. I would have been in high school. Trying to focus on the fact that I see you, I remember you, I'm paying tribute to you. And I was going to go into town and do this place. Truth or Consequences is famous for its hot springs, but I just wasn't feeling it. And I just wanted to stay here and look out at the lake and pay tribute. I'm going to make fajitas. I got this t-shirt at Walmart for $4. It probably won't be white after a few days, but that's okay. But yeah, I mean, it's a day of deep reflection about these more than 40 women who were taken by this person. He died in prison, I think 8 months after he was convicted. And I don't know, it's very solemn for me. And why I wanted to be here was to remember them again, because they weren't all found. And I just feel that this is a way to remember them. I can't describe it more than that, is that somewhere around here they are buried and only a few of their bodies were ever found. And it's a way for me to pay tribute to their lives and everything that they went through at the hands of this person who had what they called the toy box, which was a torture chamber. And yeah, I'm just doing a lot of thinking today.